Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss the 2016 version of The Magnificent Seven, starring Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, Vincent D'Onofrio, Peter Sarsgaard, Haley Bennett, Manuel Garcia Rufio, Luke Grimes, Byung-Hun Lee, and Martin Sensmeyer, directed by Antoine Fuqua. Now, I have seen this movie before, but have I seen the original? I wish I would have watched it for this one. I just didn't have the time, but but I would like to see it one day. I'll probably get around to it at some point, but I have seen this one before. And is it entertaining or is it fun or is it good? We'll see about that. Let's get into this movie. We start in a farmer village in Rose Creek in the year 1879, and we get introduced to Emma Colon, played by Haley Bennett, is in a church with some townspeople as well as her husband Matthew, talking about the crimes of. Let me see if I'm saying this name right. Bartholomew Bogue. I'm gonna just call him Bogue, played by Peter Sarsgaard, as he's taken over the whole town for money and shelter and etc. As he's killing men and threatening women and children as Bogue enters the church and gets the citizens out of the church and burns it down and shoots Matthew dead. And this opener got me in for the ride. I'm not a big fan of westerns, but I'm in it for a B movie ride, and I'll take it. Chisholm, played by Denzel Washington, comes to a different town to collect a wanted man who works at the bar and asks for the sheriff. Meanwhile, Emma and Teddy Q asks Chisholm for help about how Bogue is killing people in cold blood. And as soon as Chisholm hears that name, Bogue, he gets paid everything they have. And I swear to God, Emma, and this is a distraction, by the way. This is my critique. Emma looked a hell of a lot like Jennifer Lawrence, but nope, it's Haley Bennett, whom I swear looked a hell of a lot like Jennifer Lawrence. As that'll never escape my head for the rest of the movie. While we're introduced to Josh Faraday, played by Chris Pratt, playing blackjack for money as he wins and he gets encountered by a couple of cowboy gangsters and shows them a magic trick and shoots Billy's brother. Billy's one of the names. I don't know about the brother's name. And I thought that was Billy the Kid, but the actor playing him seemed a little too old for the role of Billy the Kid. Josh tries to get his stallion back against the little person, but the little person says no until Chisholm offers to pay Josh for his horse and proposes to give him a job for the horse. And Josh accepts as they look for a few other people to recruit. And I'm liking this so far, as I'm getting entertained for a Western. Chisholm comes to the house and hires Vasquez, played by Manuel Garcia Rufio, while in an empty house. And along with Teddy Q, recruit Billy Rocks, played by Byung-Hun Lee, as well as Goodnight. Let me see if I say this right. Robert Chow, played by Ethan Hawke. And the three cowboys say yes to the job, so that's 5 men. And I have fun with these characters, and I do like them because I believe they're a lot of fun to watch. They look for Jack Horn, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and they find him beating up on a couple of robbers of his house, and he says no at first, but eventually he will say yes after a Native American named Red Harvest, played by Martin Sensmeyer, so that makes it 7 people, and that's why this movie is called The Magnificent Seven, as it makes sense. While we're at nighttime, Josh teaches Teddy Q how to speak with cards, and the next day they meet Red Harvest, while he speaks a foreign language in almost the whole movie, and he joins them on the fight against Bogue after eating a liver of an animal. And I like how they were introduced to the characters as they have a dark past. It has a heart of as they have a heart of gold to do the right thing. As at the end of the day, while director Antoine Fuqua does a good job of portraying a western, like the way he does in this movie, they get to Rose Creek and fight against Bogue and goons as Chisholm and Billy threaten the sheriff, and Bogue's goons by scaring them away with Red Harvest killing every single goon in town, And the action scenes were pretty fun, in my opinion, and this cinematography is pretty good, as this is a good looking Western movie. They send the sheriff back to Bogue and deliver him a message like a coward Bogue is, while Goodnight was bleeding with his hand, and Chisholm delivers the message to the townspeople to defend themselves and give them a week in time to train and fight for their home. And as they start off plenty rough, while the other townspeople decide to leave town, as most people are scared of, while Josh shows them who Goodnight is as a legend, and it scares Goodnight as they might be screwed. After training these townspeople for a week and their montage, it takes a little too long. The sheriff tells Bogue about the 7 people who killed his goons. The 7 talk about guns they can respect versus disrespect, which is pretty funny. Goodnight thinks about quitting the team and leaves on one of the nights before the battle as he's afraid of death. And I like that arc as Ethan Hawke pulls it off quite well. We get a speech from Chisholm after Goodnight left, and we learn Red Harvest speaks English, which was quite amusing when we get there. We get to the morning of the battle for Rose Creek, and it begins with an explosion by the 7 against Bogue's goons, as the townspeople shoot one goon after another and pull off some badass moves, and Bogue gets a wagon gun that looks like a machine gun. Eventually, Goodnight comes back into the fight as they get prepared to fire at the town, and they do fire at them, getting a bunch of people dead, while Jack, who gets killed by an enemy Native American, let's say, and the town's women and children escape. Emma tries to shoot the Native American enemy until Red Harvest comes in and kills the enemy that looks like him, saving Emma's life, and Josh gets an idea that will get him killed and goes out there and gets shot and blows them up with dynamite in his hand to blow up the wagon gun, and he dies as Goodnight and Billy get killed also, while Chisholm faces Bogue and kills his goons left to right, and eventually Emma kills Bogue himself. And this final battle sequence was a hell of a lot of fun, but the only thing is, Chisholm, Red Harvest, and Vasquez are the only ones who survived. And when I saw this in theaters, I was shocked about the deaths of the 4 that ended up getting killed. But this climax was a hell of a lot of fun for a B-Western movie, in my opinion. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 6.2 out of 10. The characters are a hell of a lot of fun to watch on screen as I have fun with them. And I do like them in this movie. It is very entertaining for a B-Western movie. And I had fun with this movie as I was completely entertained. The title of this movie makes sense as director Antoine Fuqua does a good job of portraying a Western like the way he does with Denzel in the cast, as he pulls it off like Jamie Foxx does in Django, but less violent and never acted like a slave, and I like that about the movie. The action scenes were pretty much fun in my opinion, and the montages do take a little too long, but the cinematography was pretty good, and I can give this movie a recommendation for a B-Western movie, as I had a hell of a lot of fun, so I'd say go check this out, and you'll have a good time. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with Infinite, and until then, let's have a plan to shoot Bogue down.